And then began the downward spiral. The difficulties encountered with Ghana's ambition to qualify for the World Cup in 2018 brought more dissatisfaction with football administration in Ghana. The boardroom wranglings also came to the fore. President Kwesi Nyantakye fired his vice president, now front-runner in the new contest, Mr. George Afriyie. For the first time, George Afriyie discusses the matter between he and Kwesi Nyantakye publicly ahead of next week's crucial election.
I think personally, it was started with my intention to contest.
To challenge him for the job?
In actual fact, initially it wasn't to challenge him because I had traveled with Kwesi for the CAF elections, the election that brought Ahmad to power. And Kwesi having been promised a first vice president, of which he got the position of first vice president. In one of our travels, he assured me that, George, me cry my breath. And the insult and things back at home, it's about time I bow out to allow a new person. And then right away I said, Mr. President, having followed your footsteps, having worked with you, having understand the system, I will be interested to do so. So when we get to Accra, let's discuss it and let's call most stakeholders. So everything was fine. Everything was fine. Now on the day of my...
So that there was a deal between you and Kwesi for him to go to the CAF and you become the GFA president. He was already there.
He's already there.
Okay.
And naturally,
but you were lobbying him that once he's exiting, you want to take over.
Naturally, who doesn't want to succeed his boss? Naturally. And apart from that, it's not just your boss. It's someone you've worked closely to make sure that he also ascend to certain heights in football. He's been a FIFA Executive Council member in those elections. I went with him. There was
to Zurich?
Of course. Since 2011, I started going to Zurich for FIFA congresses. And so it's someone that I understand the system and he knows. I'm also connected and close to the people that he knows. So it was just by natural to say that, boss, if you are living, why not?
Okay. Then what happened?
Yeah, but I think that leaders sometimes, this is the problems they have. You come back and you hear all sort of things. Because I heard, in one of those things, I heard Mr. Kofi Menu giving instances why no, you cannot leave. If you leave, remember Nana Fredu Ajima, you have to stay, because if you leave, what if George doesn't endorse you in your next re-election and all that? I think it got into him and he said, no, I'm not going again. And then I said,
you're blaming Kofi Menu for it?
I'm saying that, I'm not saying, I just mentioned one. A lot more people.
Other people were encouraging Kofi to stay.
Radio. I mean,
they were encouraging to stay because his future progress with CAF depended on a nomination from the GFA.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And if you were the GFA president, they were wondering whether you would nominate him.
And I find it very ridiculous for anybody.
Sounds like a fallacy, because you would.
Come on, naturally.
Yeah, everyone would.
And you know, interestingly, Paul,
why would you nominate someone else?
It is not so easy. Yeah. I'm being very honest with you. It is not so easy for any Ghanaian to climb to that location, that position. It's not easy. And the people who were talking have not even followed Kwesi to know how he made it there. So when they were talking like that, it's like,
but it's in your interest as GFA president to have your former GFA president as a CAF president.
And you see, you'll be sitting there and we'll come to you, you'll be revered and come, oh boss, this is what we want. Some of us
but it gives Ghana also a prominent position for the Black Stars and our World Cup ambitions and all of that.
So I used to ask people that, yes, none of us wish what has happened to him has happened. But I want to ask them, his current situation, and if he has stayed there,
who is better?
Which one is better?
Yeah.
Which one?
So, Kwesi Nyantakye had his way. Then, after a few years in the year 2018, this happened.
Anas Aremeyaw Anas, one of the most high-profile and controversial African journalists. An undercover specialist, he never shows his face. For 2 years, he's been unlocking the secrets of African football.
The tension is so high, it's football, and it's Ghana, and the people have cried for far too long.
Almost 100 match officials captured on camera, taking money when they shouldn't. One of them, a referee, meant to be running the line at the World Cup in Russia. This is the inside story of Anas's most explosive and controversial investigation to date.
After the number 12 episode, FIFA, the Confederation of African Football, banned Kwesi Nyantakye from all football activities globally And then in Ghana, FIFA set up the Normalization Committee, led by former LOC chairman for AFCON 2008, Dr. Kofi Amoah. Other members of the committee included Madame Lucy Quist, former Telco MD, Na Ofolo Norte, an Accra-based lawyer, Mr. Dua Adontin, another Accra-based lawyer, and Sami Kufuor, the former captain of the Black Stars. The Normalization Committee, however, started on a bumpy road with its relationship with the media.
Conduct should mirror the kind of conduct that the incoming FA should emulate. So this is not a very good example. It's a very bad example. And
have you asked me why and how?
1 hour late. And the reason I'm going on that,
I'm not interested in this stupidity. In this yes.
Why not? Why not? You must find out.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Oh, sorry. Oh, it's okay. It's okay.
Determined to succeed, the Normalization Committee continued to work broadly. It invited other Ghanaians to work on ad hoc committees to help develop documents to support the various aspects of the Football Association. At some points, the football people seemed unhappy with the Normalization Committee. George Efriye, for instance, was concerned that the Normalization Committee's work seemed to have been in Accra only.
When the Normalization Committee took over, they should have gone back to the grassroots. It will interest you. I know you are very close with Doc. Ask him whether he's been to Tamale before, in this time, in these 14 months that they gave him. Ask him whether he's been to Sunyani before. But these are where the players are. These are where football is being run. You don't sit in Accra and think that football is all in Accra. It's wrong.
Opinions were also divided as to the next direction of Ghana football. Former Asante Kotoko representative and politician Kwabini Japan actually suggested that we should go back to the old order where government had a full hand in Football Association's business.
I'm going to make a pronouncement that is very controversial, because I've said it before and I'll say it again. Football from independence, there was always a relationship between the president and football. In 2005, 2006, when that relationship was broken, I cautioned certain people. Me catch them, so mbekaya. Says I dey amuye. Mama for politics and my football, because MPP or power and tino. Mo years of FIFA CC, FIFA and cash. Presidents always appointed the FA chairman, so there was a good nexus between government and football. And Kruma, Ohinija, Ntina, Oneno work together. So what I'm saying, during the PNDC, NDC time, ET Mensa would nominate 2 people. No, they are back. Football Congress, near Yusubaku. It worked. Clubs, no, the vice chairman, Beba. We had then a 5-member management board of the FA, which was a good arrangement. Somehow, MPP ba power and Kwana say NDC phobia said then be my question say government and say nominate. Meanwhile, first we nominated President Kufuor nominated Ben Kofi. Ben Kofi no a bit elderly. I think he's passed on.
Yeah.
Oh, of course, Ben Kofi. And after that, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo. It was during Nyaho's time there were some issues, and Nyaho resigned, and then the president, I think, sent him out as an ambassador. I was of the view, say, let's go ahead and appoint another, because that was what was pertaining. FIFA had no issues with that. FIFA only comes in when there's confusion.
Eventually, all tensions were calmed down as the Normalization Committee announced a date for the new GFA Congress. Dr. Kofi Amoah told us in August that the Normalization Committee had actually almost completed its work.
Normalization Committee has pretty much finished with its major mandate. You know, it had a 3-pronged mandate. Oversee the day-to-day running of the Ghana Football Association, which we have done. International assignments, we didn't win and all of that. The women's thing, women's AFCON was held here. We went to Colombia. Now, day to day, we're able to produce 2 Ghanaian clubs to go to Africa, Champions League and Confederations Cup. Now, we have finished with the major work, which is the statutes of the Ghana Football Association. We have sent it to FIFA. FIFA has approved it. Now, it has to be put in front of the Congress, the GFA Congress, to adopt it. They can suggest changes here and there. If it makes sense, FIFA will be flexible and accept it. And after that, our last mandate is to supervise elections to replace the former executive committee, also to rebuild the whole Congress new.
Ultimately, the much-awaited GFA Congress happened, and all the new statutes approved by FIFA, approved by the Normalization Committee, was also approved by the GFA Congress. So, Ghana football was back in shape, and now a new date had been announced for a new election to elect a new GFA president.
Congratulations for deciding to participate in the GFA presidency.
Thank you very much.
What do you think are the issues that brought up the number 12 situation? And if you were to become GFA president, identify the issues for us and tell us how you deal with them.
I would say generally in the run-up to the number 12, there was this general perception of corruption and lack of transparency within the FA, and then even amongst different actors like match officials and the rest. And that perception appeared to have run for some time and gotten itself too ingrained in society, in the minds of people, said that it had a very negative effect on the public perception of Ghana football as well as the corporate world. It was to the extent that Ghana football literally lost all its friends, from the viewing public all the way up to potential sponsors and then other actors of the game, including the media, scouts, analysts, match agents, intermediaries, and nobody really wanted to do anything, to have anything to do with the FA. So I'm sure maybe being an investigative journalist, looking at scanning the environment, they may have thought that, look, there was something that needed to be done to bring up or to confirm the perceptions or the suspicions or whatever it is. And I believe that resulted in the number 12 with a lot of implications afterwards, both good and bad. But the biggest, I would say, outcome of that was the dissolution, as it were, of the executive committee of the FA, the curtailment of the league, and the institution of a normalization committee, a liaison team or whatever it is. But then a whole period of about 15 to 18 months of soccer inactivity, which is a rather expensive situation, to say the least, where club owners had to pay their players and their staff for no job done. It's not as if even if they were doing any job, there was going to be any clear returns by way. But then, as it were, the cost became way beyond the capacities of the club. So was number
12 a negative or a positive?
It had both sides. For me, I would want to look at, even in a bad situation, I would like to look at whatever lessons I could pick from it and then avoid it. And then that would dovetail into your question of what I would do if I were there to curtail, It actually, in a way, provided clear evidence that there was corruption as perceived within football circles, corruption amongst match officials, corruption amongst referees, corruption amongst some soccer administrators and the rest. So definitely, if one were to be voted into office, we would have to look at what structures and mechanisms and systems to put in place to at least curtail, if not eliminate, some of these things totally. And there are many things that one could do in that direction, like getting some clear codes of ethics, high standards of financial accountability, transparency, opening the FA up for interrogation and criticism or interaction from different sections of the public, one through the media, setting up a body or recommending a council of elders that could serve as an advisory body, though they will not have any legal powers by way of their advice or so, but then we are Ghanaians, we're all brought up in many different ways. Paul, if you have elders telling you certain things, at least you would go back and reflect before moving. So you will not be a lot onto yourself, but there will be appropriate structures to put you in check.
What do you think were the difficulties that brought about number 12? Have you had time to look at it?
Of course.
What were those difficulties?
The difficulties that brought about number 12 was this sort of steady decline of the GFA through familiarity. It became so familiar that certain provisions were expunged from the statutes, which meant that the presidency role could be for an unlimited amount of time. And then just came this private boys club within a private boys club within a private boys club, where nobody got a look in for just a couple of scraps in terms of a trip to London or a bit of money. And multi-million-dollar funds were being handled privately, with the body that is the fraternity of football thinking that the GFA was a very poor organization where not a lot came in, but millions came in. Pram, a lot of money came in. It could have been handled better. So the steady decline based on familiarity and cronyism, I think, was the heart of it. But if you'd had more transparency, or every time money comes in, you publish it on the website and you say how it was distributed by the PESWA every time it goes to a club, you help yourself as an organization become more accountable. None of this was there. So familiarity was the issue, basically.
I see. If you become GFA president, how are you going to deal with those issues that you limit to familiarity that became the
norm,
the norm, and therefore became the launching pad for number 12?
By just sticking to what I've said, I'm the only candidate to date. And I'm still, every day I say it, hoping that somebody will come along, but I'm the only candidate to date that say, should I get this position and the nod from the delegates, I will publish different funds that come in dedicated to different things like women, FIFA Forward, etc., as well as show by PESWA how that's distributed. And I've asked all the media to hold me to account to that, because that's my campaign promise. So I think that is the beginning of 60% of the issues at the GFA, that money wasn't actually filtered down to clubs. Because the irony is, football people are very passionate about the sport, and they do a lot of work, and they are technical experts in what they do. So that was never the issue. The issue came from a very senior administrative level, whereby you just had no money filtering down, and just this steady decline. So I think money is a major issue. Facing the public and different stakeholders, working well with government. Government will only work, I think, with someone they can sit across the table from after what they feel they've been through. FIFA is the same case. Stakeholders in terms of like corporate Ghana wouldn't even entertain the idea unless they really thought they were genuinely having a new conversation.
My dad will tell you all the time. My dad is 95 years, okay? Paul, he will say to you that 95 years is not 95 days. There's something to be learned, to be picked from history. There's something to be learned and to be picked from experience. However, it's also important for all of us to accept that the game of football is very dynamic. It has changed from it being purely a recreational entity to perhaps one of the biggest commerce we can think about, okay, or commercial entity we can think about. And if you really want to go to that level, you have to be dynamic. You have to learn how to play outside the box. You need fresh ideas. For which reason I will never agree that once you've worked, you've had experience of being part of the industry, you should just walk away with all your knowledge and the quality that you do have. All of us have been part of the industry, you inclusive. Okay, and you're still part of the industry because you talk about football. Does it mean that you have to exit the football industry because we've had challenges? The answer is no. Within the same industry, there are quality materials. Materials who perhaps were not in a position to effect change because they were not the key decision makers. Okay, so I don't agree with that school of thought. There's too much quality within the football industry. I'm one. And I believe that we have the capacity to take our industry to the level that it deserves. And I've shown beyond reasonable doubt that I'm very much prepared. I've shown with my Dreams FC project that it can be done when everybody believes that it's not possible, because people don't really understand the puzzle, how to get the puzzle right. We have shown that we can get the puzzle right. So I believe that if we find the right people, when we take the right decisions, when we are firm, when we believe in a way, I'm talking about policies, and we follow the way judiciously, we'll get to the promised land.
I'm so passionate about football. Paul, some of us, when we returned from abroad, when my friends were building hotels and putting money in different ventures, I went straight into football, right at the grassroots. I was in the trenches in Swedro, in Loma, in Inswatre. This was where we were.
So when you become, the future is bright.
Very, very.
Fortunately for me, I was one time the chairman of juvenile football in Ghana. I've had the first time, Paul, I had the opportunity to travel across the length and breadth of Ghana was when I was the chairman of juvenile football. I went to Paga, Tamales, everywhere in Ghana to understand what coast football is about, what the people goes through, and this is very important. Thankfully, now the government of Ghana is building so many not stadium, but let me call it a mini sports centers, which is very good. We as Football Association need to complement that by also building more. Where I have said in my manifesto that within the first 4 years of my administration, we are going to build not less than 5 football pitches. 5 minimum. It's captured in my manifesto, and the first one is going to be in Sunyani, because Sunyani is the biggest football hub or the biggest football constituency in Ghana.
I don't believe that.
Yes, they have 4 of the Premier Division clubs. They have 10 of the Division 1 clubs. They have 2 of the women football clubs.
I see.
I'm telling you.
Yes. That's interesting.
That's very interesting. So in fact today they have 22 of the
great players. I mean, I know Sarah Mensah, George Arthur, and
Kwesi Owusu, Dan Owusu, and all.
The old Kwesi Owusu.
Yes, Jumo and all that. They are all from there. Kwesi Owusu and all from that place. And 22 of the 120 votes come from Burahafo region.
Oh, I see.
It's the reason why I launched my manifesto.
There's a lot of talk that we should have a separate company to run the Premier League with a separate CEO, something akin to what they do in England, which you are very familiar with. I don't know what they do in other European countries too, but England certainly does. Is it part of your plan to do that? Because that way you'll be creating a semi-autonomous league.
Yeah.
Is it part of your plan?
Well, to answer that question, let me say that I've already been part of a body that has been working in the background to ensure that we get to the promised land. The promised land is the autonomy of our Premier League. Okay, I belong to the 16 club Premier League body that have been meeting under the leadership of Togbe Afede to ensure that we take our game to that level. And our belief is very simple, Paul. If you dedicate 24 hours to your product called Good Evening Ghana, the net impact you have on the total populace will never be the same as when you dedicate 6 hours of your time to the same product. Same philosophy is applicable to our league. The Premier League is the elitist league in the country. It's the topmost league in the country. It deserves more than we are offering. We are offering our league 2-hour service, perhaps in a day. I'm saying that our Premier League, our Division 1 league, needs 26 hours a day service, not 24 hours. Okay, so in my manifesto, I've been very, very clear and in no uncertain terms that I'll lead and I'll champion the cause to take our Premier League to that promised land. That promised land is to make it autonomous. It's so important for us.
The issue about setting up a company to oversee the Premier League, is it part of the statutes or is something that the new executive must consider?
It's not part of the statutes, but it's open. It's something that within the ambit of the new executives, of course, going through Congress. It's an interesting that we're talking about autonomizing the league to, as it were, cut it off the mainstream ethic. But then you don't get up from, it's not like a decree. You don't just get up in a episodal manner. You just from today to tomorrow you are doing it. We must put certain things in place. So there could be a rollout plan, maybe over 2-3 years, and we make sure we've got certain structures and arrangements right in place. Once we keep chalking or marking or ticking all those boxes correct, and it gets to a certain critical mass by way of minimum criteria, which we believe will be satisfying enough to project us to that level. Of course, why not? We go there. But we cannot just get up from this stage and then move to that stage. No matter how ideal that will be, we must get a lot of systems in place.
My message to the delegates is that the majority will carry the vote. And so if the majority is saying they are tired of the same old, they are tired of not seeing the money, they are tired of the state of the GFA, and they are tired of not getting a look in to something they are part of, then they must decide a certain way with a new agenda and a new face. If they are saying they're very happy with familiarity and they're very happy with possibly, the statutes being expunged again to unlimited president and the EXCO being replaced overnight, etc., then you also have the choice to take the majority and to give it to the old guard. But mafiaism is something that can be quashed, and there is no better person to quash that than a lawyer who will have zero tolerances for bad practices and bad corporate governance. I therefore ask you to partner with me as we revitalize the GFA.
Why do you want to start your foray into football from the presidency of the GFA? There's an example like you in Sierra Leone, but she had a football club, and she did a club thing, and then she graduated to the top. You, Amanda, however, you want to start straight from the top. Why?
Because I think the moment selects a person doesn't really select the moment. And as I mentioned, you know, with my consultancy, Clinton Consultancy, our speciality apart from law is crisis management. And there is no greater crisis right now for a company than what the GFA is going through. And being able to handle that from the top bottom, and being able to rebrand, communicate, strategize, deal with different boards, deal with FIFA, raise money with corporate Ghana as well as with FIFA, is something that is well within my skill set as a crisis management expert. So to be given the opportunity to do that for 4 years and possibly 8 years is a challenge that I could definitely rise to.
Do you have a deliberate plan to ensure that Ghana is at as many World Cups as possible?
I think that my plan is what has led into the campaign message that we're delivering to the people of this country. We have said that we want to ignite passion and to create wealth for all of us. How do we ignite passion? And before we ignite passion, we want to ensure that the fundamentals are strong. Again, I give the example of the high risers, okay? If we lay a solid foundation for our sport called football, the end product will be very strong. We're talking about Colts football, Women's League, Division 1 League, Division 2 League, Division 3 leagues, okay? If we provide them with the basic logistical and infrastructural support, if we let them have more access to money, so to say, and if we improve their capacity across board, chances are that our leagues will be strong, we'll be producing better players. What would that mean ultimately, Paul, is that our national teams will come back live again, for which reason we will again be appearing at the Mondial, whether it's U17, women's level, men's level, U20, the senior most national team, the Black Stars, etc., etc. In our manifesto, we have said that we want to create what we call a national teams department. Again, this department will be fully functional and would offer our national teams across board 26-hour service. It's so important. We need body, personnel that will be thinking 26 hours about the product called our national teams. That's the only way to go. We need to commercialize the sport. We need to ensure that the basics are right. And when the basics are right, naturally it will grow. This is the way to go.
The FA Cup is also something very important. We used to have it, then we lost it, then it came back, and you are responsible for putting the FA Cup together. What role will the FA Cup play if you become president of the Football Association? In England, it's a big deal.
I think that if I want to be very biased, I know my guys on the Premier League body would forgive me. I have loved the MTN FA Cup much more than the Premier League. It isn't the case that I led the campaign to bring in the money. It isn't the case that I offered my intellectual property to the product. It isn't the case that I rose from being a member to become the chairman of perhaps the most prestigious product of the FA in Ghana. But it is the case that it affects everybody in our industry. The MTN FA Cup would ensure that clubs in Division 2 will compete against Kotoko. If we had even more resources, clubs in Division 3 will have the opportunity to compete. But the MTN FA Cup gave us an amazing opportunity to try new ideas, to bring in new energy. Let's roll back the time. Let's go to Esipon in the grand finale. Let's go to the new stadium in Cape Coast, the grand finale. Let's go to the unmissable in Tamale. It's the MTN FA Cup. Do the comparison and you know that that product was distinctively distinct and more attractive to the sporting populace than any other product in the country. What that means is that with a bit more quality human persons, with a bit more resources, the FA Cup, like the Premier League, will become what we all yearn for, okay? We go to cafes, watch games on TV from jurisdictions beyond the country because we believe that the product offering, it's good, it's sumptuous, it's interesting. But we're all in the same classrooms with the people who are behind those products. And I'm saying that, Paul, if we think together, if we criticize ourselves together, if we bring resources together, we should be in the position to deliver interesting footballing products to the Ghanaian sporting populace. And this is what I stand for.
Will you introduce what we have now become familiar with, VAR for the Premier League and goal line technology for the Ghana Premier League?
Trust me, it's the ultimate, but Paul, it's not easy for now. Trust me, unless...
Why is it not easy?
It's not easy because, well, if you knew, I've checked from the equipment how even CAF was able to get it, the amount involved. But unless you are asking me to bring the one that will put it there and I'll come and spy it like that and determine that is a goal.
No, the VAR that we see on the English Premier League.
Of course.
It's an expensive equipment.
It's very, very expensive.
Oh, I see.
Very, very expensive. And then also you need to... the training of the personnel is not a problem because, of course, FIFA will even assist you in the training of the personnel.
And what about goal line technology?
Goal line technology shouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a problem. But it's a process. I'm not promising that now. Within the first 3-4 years, we should be looking at introducing goal line technology. First, we must get a standardized FIFA-approved match centers for all before you'll be thinking of goal line technology. But if you are playing your matches around the Sakasaka Park and all that, how do you introduce goal line technology?
But you seem to look at their number 12 as just referees. It was more than referees.
No, so I started with referees before the second question came. Yeah, but then there were other parts of which some administrators were also caught on tape. It's also unfortunate. But you see, I find it difficult that up until now, the normalization committee has not put an ethics committee in place in order to put the people before the ethics committee or a judicial body to listen to them.
Haven't they started the process of constituting an ethics committee?
I think they have done that, but they have not, because Paul, it's been almost 18 months.
So you think the people who were found in the video should be put before the ethics committee?
That's what happened in FIFA, that's what happened in CAF. I don't know whether you are aware. You know, FIFA referees, FIFA badges holders were invited to Cairo to justify why they should not be banned. And in fact, they went through the process. Some have been banned 10 years, some have been banned for life, some have been banned 4 years and all that. Same must be applied to other people who have, probably, maybe they have explanation. You cannot arrest somebody with marijuana in his pocket and put him straight into someone when you don't take him through the process.
So if George Afriyie becomes president of the Ghana Football Association, are we going to be able to produce great players for the Premier League again? Michael Essien and Sule Muntari? Are we going to see that again? That we are watching Champions League quarter-final and there are 6 Ghanaians in there? Are we going to see that again?
Interesting. I talked about it this morning on your station when I had a chance to speak to Michael Odro. You see, Paul, right away, my first priority when I become the FA president is to set up a functional technical directorate, not technical director, directorate, where all the basics will be taken care of. Because with the technical directorate, we need to go back to make sure that coaching, refereeing, sports medicine, women decks, everything is taken care of right from the technical directorate. That way, we will get people who are qualified, and the word here is qualified, to train people even at the grassroots. What we are doing in this country, for example...
Is that how we're able to produce Michael Essien and Sule Muntari and Stephen Appiah?
It is because we had somebody like Mr. Felix Anso and the late Alhaji Sly Tete, who could go on scouting on his own. Because remember, Sly was an ex-player. Good one at that. He played for Sekeni Azakes and he was exceptionally very good player. Anso is a businessman. These gentlemen put scout. I was one time a scout of Liberty Professionals. You won't believe it. They sent scouts all over Ghana, identify talent. Sly will pick them, put them under the proper coaching of Celsus Joseph Tukwefio, Salas Tete Bobo, and George Lamte. So there was proper grooming and monitoring in Liberty. Remember,
that's how we were able to dominate the Champions League with Essien and Muntari and Appiah.
And it is not surprising that Liberty boasts of almost all the, apart from the Stephen and a few others, we boast of almost all the top good players that has come out from our generation.
Including Asamoah Gyan.
Kojo Asamoah, even latest Latif Blessing.
So when George Afriyie becomes president, we'll get back there.
We are going back to the basics.
But your supporters say that you are the most technically qualified academically to run a football institution. Why do they say that? What did you study?
Well, I think that, and I have said this, I said that at the launch of my manifesto, that for every individual, for every person, for every business venture, you need to have a very good preparatory period. You need to prepare yourself, okay? And at age 17, when I formed my own club, Shooting Stars, a coast club, I had a dream. And my responsibility was to ensure that physically, I ensure that that dream becomes real, okay? That dream was to arrive at this moment. What is the moment? The moment where I'm offering my quality, my intellectual property, and my ability to the entire country, okay? So what did I do? I started to prepare. This is what we call preparation, okay? I went to school. I went to University of Ghana, beyond which I did diploma in journalism at the Institute of Journalism, because I've always known that if you want to be part of the industry, you need to prepare yourself. You need to learn how to communicate. Okay. I studied marketing beyond that because still I was thinking about the industry in London. Then I said to myself, you want to be modern. You want to be up to speed with the flow of information. I studied information technology. Okay. Then there's one bit of the industry that we tend to forget. Hospitality. Teams travel. We sleep in hotels. We engage. We do all sorts of things in hotels and stuff. Okay. I remember when we had the MTN FA Cup in Tamale, the unmissable. We had the Fugu night. Okay. We promoted tourism with the Ghana Tourism Authority. We had the two clubs, Kotoko and Hasafo, coming out of the tunnel in Fugu. We had the Guinea Fowl night, I beg your pardon, okay? And then we had the Fugu with the two teams wearing the traditional wear. All pointed towards the fact that tourism is a key part of our industry. It's a part of the industry we tend not to look. Okay, so I studied tourism management. Then I did MBA in football at the famous University of Liverpool Business School.
MBA in football?
MBA in football, okay.
Liverpool Business School?
Yes. So
did they run it from Anfield?
Yes. So clearly, I've had the best of preparatory period. I didn't stop there. I had ensured that I gained the practical experience in terms of preparations. I worked as Director of Communication and Marketing for Hearts of Oak. I worked with the League Clubs Association. Then I formed Dreams FC 10 years ago. Currently, we have 9 sponsors, including Nike. So you can see that it's so important for you to get yourself prepared for the appointed time. And when is the appointed time? 25th of October.
What do you foresee to be the future of Ghana football if you were to become president?
I think the future looks bright. I believe there's quite some unanimity amongst the delegates as to what the issues confronting them are and what needs to be done to actually resolve those issues and then make sure Ghana football is put on a pedestal which will make it attractive and push it towards the level that we all admired in the golden years, I'll say 2005, 2010, where we're all proud to be Ghanaians, we're all proud to be Ghanaian football administrators, we're all proud to be Ghanaian footballers and the rest. What I believe the delegates want will be a restoration of the pride and honor. They want a message of hope. And I believe, and I'm quite sure from my manifesto and from my interactions on different platforms, they see that in Fred Papo. And I only hope and pray, I'm quite sure, on the day, come 25th of October, they will cast their votes in that direction. And the light of hope will then be open for with respect to Ghana football.
All of that, yes, including all of us, are wishing you the best.
In their life, we shall see light.
In their life, we shall see light. Thank you very much.
That
was Fred Papo.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
We'll leave it here. Thank you. Cheers. Kurt, thank you very much. Congratulations and good luck.
At Dreams FC, we say this. What has it been?
I don't know.
Still believe.
Still believe.
Number 1 on the ballot box.
All said and done, the elections will occur next week, Friday, the 25th of October 2019. So, who would it be? Would it be Amanda Clinton, who will be making a record as the first female GFA president? Or would it be one of the obvious frontrunners, George Afriyie? There is also the famous Odadie from Accra Great Olympics, Fred Papo. And yes, Kurt Okreku, who is a long-time football administrator. Maybe it could be Amponsa who comes to the ticket with a lot of fresh breath. Whatever happens on 25th October 2019, we want to see the GFA continue to climb up and to climb up again, and never to descend. Never again shall we see number 12.
Ship, yes, star, master, 3 by food, 1 for the master, 1 for the lead, 1 for the little body crisis, the lead blaster, blah 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 ship, yes, star, master, 3 by food, 1 for the master, 1 for the lead. 1 for the little body crisis. 1 for the master is talking to the Ghanaians, and 3 for the everybody, which is moving to the Babylon. To all Ghanaians, even though the president of the Republic of Ghana, he also gets his vibe to the Babylon system, which is life and prosperity.